Welcome to the Trust and Believe NOMADCAST, a podcast that covers a wide range of topics. So come chill with us on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. Here's your host, Mr. Anderson.
Welcome everybody to episode 84 of the Trust and Believe NOMADCAST. I'm your host, Mr. Anderson. Thank you for tuning in today on the 8th of March, 2022. Got a great show lined up. Again, appreciate you guys tuning in. I hope you had a great Monday, a great start of the week, a great start of the work week. And I hope the video that we did yesterday talking about you owe it to ourselves, to yourselves. I'm going to invent a word, to we selves. Hopefully we implement those things, talking about the various topics that we talked about yesterday. Try to implement those into your daily strategy, your weekly strategy, your monthly strategy, and your yearly strategy. And you would definitely see a change. Going from the crying to taking the break, being your number one fan, to love yourself as you are, and all the et ceteras. So definitely use that, influence great things in your life, and manifest those goals and aspirations, and you'll be successful. We'll all be successful. So thank you again for tuning in today. All right, so today I want to talk about, today is Talking on a Tuesday. So I want to talk about something that's in the news. I had a topic already prepped and crafted, ready to go for today. But, it's kind of scanning the news, more importantly, the sports area. They talked about Calvin Ridley and gambling. And I was like, let me go ahead and do some investigative work, right? My bootleg investigating. I'm very familiar with the situation, the story, who Calvin Ridley is. But I want to talk about not only him and the gambling issue, but also the NFL as a whole. Because some things are just, the way the league is structured, the way that all the leagues are structured, and I'll talk about that, it leaves a lot of question. It's very vague as to way they deal with the gambling aspects, getting in bed with the gamblers, and you see these things starting to happen. So today we'll talk about why Calvin Ridley's gambling and the NFL's hypocrisy is on full display. And I definitely conduct a deep dive. And once I start going through the categories, you definitely have a better understanding of what my intent is today as we conduct a dive. Not so much a deep dive, almost like just a wave top talking about this topic. But just to give you a little history on it. They found out yesterday that Calvin Ridley, who's a receiver with the Atlanta Falcons, bet on sports games, so on and so forth. So it's an unfortunate situation, but there's a lot of situations that the NFL has dealt with and continues to not deal with as it relates to, the hiring of minority candidates, African-American candidates, with concussion protocols. I mean, so many things can go wrong. And that's why I added the NFL's hypocrisy into the title. So again, let's go ahead and start. Again, the title today is why Calvin Ridley's gambling and the NFL's hypocrisy is on full display. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into the backstory. The backstory is this. Calvin Ridley, who's a receiver with the Atlanta Falcons, he stepped away last year from football, from the Atlanta Falcons in 2021 to focus on his mental health. He said he had some issues. He was no longer engaged in the game mentally or physically. He wanted to take time away to kind of get himself right. We talk about this on Monday Mental Combats all the time, taking a break. I think the issue was he took a break during the season. A lot of people kind of frowned on that, to his teammates, the Falcons organizations, and the NFL. But they continued to support him. And I'm tracking that he was still receiving game checks as well for his non-services. So again, he stepped away from football in 2021 after week 6 to focus on his mental health. Now, here's where the fun starts. In the 5-day span in November, the NFL's gaming partners notified the NFL that Ridley was out of state. He was gambling out of state, which was a which was a factor in Ridley's activity being flagged. So anybody know, if you live in a state that doesn't have gambling, you have to cross to the nearest state or some footprint close to you, a state footprint close to you, to initiate any gambling activities. And if you're a sports athlete, you can potentially, you'll get flagged if you start betting out of state, if you're not in the state that you reside in. Ridley, he did bet on the Atlanta Falcons, but he didn't bet against them, which is a no-no. You just can't do it. Here's a point here. There was a series of wagers from Ridley's phone, his cell phone, including 3, 5, and 8 game parlays. Now, if you're not familiar with the betting circles, a parlay is a bet placed on multiple outcomes to occur. You have your 3-leg, your 5-leg, your 8-leg. And the total bets were $1,500. So he has been suspended for the whole 2022 season. I'm tracking. There's various reports out there. It's half of the season. It's a quarter of the season, so on and so forth. But I'm tracking right now. He is suspended for all of 2022. So he was due to make $11 million this year, and a $1,500 bet. He had a $1,500 bet versus losing $11 million. I mean, think about that. So again, there's hypocrisy in that, and I'm going to dive into it here. The second issue is the NFL and sports betting. The NFL for so many years, we don't encourage sports gambling. No one should bet. We've seen it in other sports. You can't bet. You can't bet. We don't want to wager on games. They can influence the players. It can influence the plays. It can influence the outcomes in games. But lo and behold, when the devil has a pocket full of money, or as the young folks say, when the devil has a bag of money, the NFL, what does the NFL love? There's 2 things the NFL loves: money and money. Well, 3 things, and themselves, right? I guess they listened to the show yesterday talking about love themselves as they are. The NFL loves money. They love attention. They love fame. NFL sports-wise, to me, is almost like the mafia of sports. It's the big dog, right? So they got in bed with the sports gambling, the sports betting, the sports book public. And here's a list of some of these folks, these prominent sports booking folks. They made partnership agreements with Fox Bet, BetMGM, PointsBet, WinBet, Caesar Sportsbook, DraftKings, and FanDuel. Wow, not to mention many others. And just think about that. For so many years, you stated, I don't want to, be in bed with the gambling public. It can have a black eye on the league. It's all about the shield, the NFL shield. No one is more important than the shield. But then when all these gambling facilities, these gambling agencies, all these sports booking places, wants to partner with you and provide you X amount of dollars, you're like, hey man, I loved you long time, like the old song says. So it's to think about it. That's where the hypocrisy comes in. That it's like you suspended Calvin Ridley for the full season, and I dig into other suspensions, but you suspended Calvin Ridley for sports betting, which you shouldn't do, because as an NFL player, you should know you cannot bet on not only games in your league, the NFL, you can't bet on teams, and you can't bet on other professional organizations, i.e. the NBA, the NHL, Major League Baseball, so on and so forth. You can't do it. And my thing is, if you're making all this money, dude, you was due to make $11 million this year, and all that is thrown away. The Falcons paid you last year because you said you had mental health issues, and you want to rectify those issues. So you took a knee. You took a break. You reset. You was at home while your Falcons, your teammates, were playing, and you were still getting paid. But in November, you were betting on games, and you bet on your own team. Like I stated before, not for them to lose, but you bet on your team. You know what I mean? So, if I'm a teammate, that doesn't sit right. It's almost like, you let someone, hey, boss, I'm not feeling well. I want to can I go home, to kind of rest myself? Oh, take it easy, man. I'll see you tomorrow. I'll check on you later to see how you doing. And then you find out the dude that, the guy that requested to have the day off, he's at the mall shopping, or he's in another state shopping, or going to an amusement park. It's the same way. So now you've lost the trust of the organization. More importantly, the trust of your teammates, the love of your teammates. It's like, dude, man, you said you had all these mental health issues, right? Then all of a sudden you're betting on sports games. But then, I'm not trying to place blame here, but if you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes, is the old saying. My thing is, with all these young athletes in general, I am a firm believer. Me and Mrs. Anderson talk about this all the time. Who is in your circle of influence? More importantly, you should probably cut that circle and have a triangle of influence. And I'll talk about influences in a minute. But it's like, who's directing traffic in your life? Who's your advisor? Who's that trusted confidant? Who's that person saying, hey, man, we may not need to do this. Let's go ahead and shift our mindset to something else. Whenever the athlete or whenever the actress or the actor or entertainer thinks of something crazy to do, it should be a trusted confidant, someone that's non-biased, that don't care if they're on payroll or not. They are there to serve you for the greater good professionally. Where is these people at in these young athletes' lives? Where are these people at in the entertainers' lives, the actresses' lives, rappers, so on and so forth? And I think that's the root of many problems in our society. We want to have, oh, man, I got to take everybody with me, everybody from the block, everybody I grew up with, man. This guy's going to be my lawyer. He's going to be my accountant. How this cat is going to be your accountant? How is he going to advise you and he younger than you? This dude just got out of freaking jail. And how is he going to advise you? So my thing is, again, this is not an attack on Calvin Ridley, but Calvin Ridley's actions opened up a Pandora's box. I mean, shoot, with the NFL, that box has been open. But it adds another layer, I guess I should say, to that Pandora's box. Because, again, you allow yourself to bet on games. Ding, ding, ding. Someone should have poked you right there. Hey, man, let's not do that. Now, you can't watch these guys 24/7, 365. But however, you got to have someone in your circle. Hey, man, the NFL and the Falcons, you can't bet on games. You can't do drugs. You can't freaking drink. I mean, do whatever, anything negative, you can't do it. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes you have to, every wound is self-inflicted in life. However, you got to have people in your space, your circle, your triangle, or whatever you want to call it, with trusted confidants, with individuals who's there to serve you professionally for the greater good. Because if I'm with you and you my homeboy and you freaking smoking weed, or you drinking and driving, getting DUIs, and you freaking gambling on sports and getting caught, if I'm on your payroll, the actions that you are displaying affects the payroll. They affect your payroll. They affect my payroll. So if you're giving me $150,000 a month to be your assistant, or to be the guy, your frontline guy, or whatever, and you get suspended, and now you was due to make $11 million, and now you're not making any of that because you suspended, my quality of life is now, messed with. My quality of life is impacted. So, you know what I'm saying? So it's so many layers. It's like a lot of times when we make decisions, I talked about it yesterday, owning your mistakes. When we make decisions in life, there are so many layers. There's pros and cons. There's consequences. Second and third order effects. And with Calvin Ridley's decision, it affected not only him, but people that he probably been providing for. You know what I'm saying? His mother, the father. I don't know the family structure. I know his brother played football as well. But again, I'm sure he don't care anything about what Mr. Anderson is saying. But I just think, kind of speaking to the youth, getting back into my mentor phase, we have to have the people around us to make us successful. And if we continue to march down these roads, walk down these roads in life, and we have people that's not smarter than us. What's the old saying? If you're the smartest guy in the room, you're in the wrong room. Have guys, that's there for you, that's telling you, no, we can't do that. You shouldn't do that. Man, I wouldn't do that. You're impacting everything, financially, spiritually, morally, everything. You just got to be smart. I know I kind of went on the tangent there, but I just want to kind of just, display that, because I think it's so important that we have the right people. That's those trusted confidants giving us advice. Do this, don't do that, man. What do you think about this? What is the impact if I make this decision? All right, so we talked about the backstory, the NFL, and getting in bed with sports betting. Let's go and talk about influences. So there's been a lot of prominent people, and not only in the NFL, but sports in general, that have been either suspended for betting on leagues, betting on their own teams, fixing games, so on and so forth. And I'll just run down a quick list here. Pete Rose, he's banned from Major League Baseball. He's a Hall of Fame player. However, he will never be elected to the Hall of Fame because he's been banned indefinitely. Pete Rose is like a phenomenal baseball player for so many years with the Cincinnati Reds, won World Series with the Cincinnati Reds, won a World Series with the Philadelphia Phillies, probably one of the greatest hitters of all time. But due to his, his negligence in gambling and everything, he's not going to be in the Hall of Fame. Rick Tocchet was a former NHL player dealing with gambling issues. Art Schlichter, he went to Ohio State. Took Ohio State to the Rose Bowl and played in the NFL with the Indianapolis Colts. Sports betting. And Tim Donaghy, he was a referee who was fixing games. He's an NBA referee fixing games. So if you're an NBA in any league, MLB, basketball, football, outside of the players, you have the greatest impact. Your decision making can impact a game. In his case, a decision to call a foul or to not call a foul, to call a traveling, to call a charge. He has an impact on this game, and he's been suspended indefinitely. And the thing we're talking about influences, a lot of people say, oh, well, it was only $1,500. Everything is okay. In the grand scheme of things, it's not okay, because if you look at it, you bet $1,500. And they say, well, he didn't bet on other sports. Just say, for example, if Calvin Ridley say, you know what, I'm going to bet this $1,500 on this parlay, and I think I want to venture into betting in basketball or baseball. So now what happens if he calls some of his partners in the NBA? What happened if he called LeBron James or Antonio Davis or some of these other NBA stars, and probably not even the stars, some of these second and third tier players in the NBA, using his influence? Hey, man, I got to bet on the Pistons tonight. I know y'all supposed to, the line is Pistons +3. Hey, man, how you feel today? You think you're able to make all your free throws, so on and so forth, so on and so forth? So that's how the influences happen. Because now what's going to happen, and I bet when they start peeling this onion back, it's going to be so many layers of distrust, disrespect, and so many things. You know how it is. Once you open up that Pandora's box, there's so many things inside of it. I talked about layers earlier. When they start looking at this, because many years ago, you probably could get away with a lot of this. But if you're conducting any type of sports betting, particularly on our phones, because, we live in a society where our phones are our lives, right? Can't go anywhere without it. And if you're conducting sports betting via an app on your phone, you got to utilize a couple things. First, your full name, your daggone email, and your banking, checking, and routing number, your account number. So they are able to track everything you're doing. So don't you think the NFL, the NBA, and all these leagues have a list of everyone's routing numbers and accounting numbers and emails? So when you register on these betting apps, they know, ding, 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 oh, Damon Anderson plays with the Detroit Pistons. We noticing some high activity with his account, placing bets on hockey games, placing bets on NBA games, placing bets on NFL games. Let's go ahead and send this forward to that respective league's compliance department and let them handle it. And then you have the situation we have now. Again, it all goes back to people around you. Again, no one can watch you 24/7, 365, but you have to have people in your circle. And the NFL, I blame a lot of people on this. First I said I didn't, but yeah, I do. Calvin Ridley for being not utilizing that brain. And the NFL, for suspending him off the top. Oh, you suspended. But let's go ahead and dive into some suspensions. We're talking about suspensions here. Stephen Ross offered to pay Coach Brian Flores $100,000 to lose on purpose to enhance the Miami Dolphins draft stock. $100,000 per loss. So the NFL can suspend one of their players without any trepidation. But then one of their owners, and this was allegedly happened last year during the NFL season, and Stephen Ross is still the owner of the Miami Dolphins. And the first thing the NFL says, which is Commissioner Roger Goodell, we have to look into this matter. We don't have any comment at this time. So think about it. There's a hypocrisy. That's what I'm talking about. The hypocrisy with suspensions. You suspend Calvin Ridley, who bet on games, which you shouldn't have, but you suspend him for that. But then you got an owner. And Brian Flores, they talk about keeping receipts. He's like me. I keep all emails. I don't delete jack. Brian Flores has email and text stating Stephen Ross wanted to pay him $100,000 per loss to enhance the Miami Dolphins draft stock. But then you suspend Calvin Ridley for betting on games, again, which is wrong. Neither one of them are right. But if we're want to pay our coach, and Stephen Ross ended up firing Brian Flores, by the way. But if you're paying a coach $100,000 to lose versus a guy paying $1,500 to win in the bet, that's where the hypocrisy comes in at. And, let's even talk about that even further. You're looking at this list of people that's been suspended by the NFL. Ray Rice, domestic violence, 2 games, 6 games. Daggone Adrian Peterson. Look at all these games these guys have been suspended. But then when you look down, look at Calvin Ridley. A whole season for betting. But these other guys got off scot-free for beating up their girlfriends, the kids, so on and so forth. All unfortunate incidents. I want to make sure I'm clear. Those incidents are unfortunate. You cannot weigh sports gambling with domestic violence or child abuse. You can't. But what I'm trying to say is, we talked about Calvin Ridley. We digging into the NFL now. There's a hypocrisy going on. The NFL is a football league that is a powerhouse in America, probably even the world. I would say the world. Money driven, money hungry. It's all about the shield, but they have so much. And I think it's going to get to a point where the NFL is going to continue to get exposed until they change themselves. I talked about it earlier. With the sports gambling, the NFL has a problem. With the NFL hiring African-American or minority coaches, they have a problem. Domestic violence, drinking and driving, so many life issues the NFL has, and a lot of times they kind of just sweep it under the rug. Now, the NFL is no different from any organization. The military, we had domestic violence and child abuse and gambling. You have these in all areas and all aspects of society. But the problem is with the NFL, when you're trying to put that shield out in front of everybody and saying you're all about this, you stand for all the great things in life. But then when you open everything up, you find out that you got a lot of bones in your closet. And people know where all the bones are buried. It's going to get to a point where everyone, all the key players, they're going to get exposed. Situations are going to get uncovered and exposed. People that's not talking now, I truly believe they're going to start talking. And that's the main reason why I want to talk about that. As much as we enjoy the NFL, the football season, I'm a Detroit Lions fan, enjoy football. there's a hypocrisy with the NFL. So thank you for tuning in today. I know I kind of went off on a tangent here. Again, I always say that, but I don't want to just beat up Calvin Ridley. I want to beat up the NFL. Initially, I said I didn't want to attack them, but I'm attacking Calvin Ridley for his indecision, his lack of good decision making, and attacking the NFL for their hypocrisy. So we talked about the Calvin Ridley backstory. We talked about the history of the NFL and sports betting and some influences. And we talked about the whole Stephen Ross and that whole big hypocrisy as well. So thank you guys for tuning in. I know I had a structure that I had written on my notes, but I kind of just bounced off. I think I made my point. I want to make my point. You guys let me know in the comments if I made a point. Are you tracking what I'm saying? Because again, and I don't want to sound like, oh, this is affecting Damon Anderson. As a sports fan, it does, because I really dig sports. But I think this is more of a societal issue. And there's going to be so many things that's going to be uncovered in the next year or so, dealing with a lot of these issues I talked about with the NFL and their players and so on and so forth. So thank you guys for tuning in today. Next time we'll get together will be Thursday for Gym Shoe Stories on a Thursday. Thank you guys for tuning in. Have a great day. Have a great Tuesday. Since we won't be together tomorrow, have a great Wednesday. I was about to say let's have a great tomorrow. Let's have a great day Wednesday. And let's go ahead and get back together and dig in Thursday and Friday and close the week out. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Have a great day. Be safe and sound. All the blessed. Stay true and do everything you need to do to be successful. Let's say it all together. Trust and believe. See y'all Thursday.